Muslims lead million-person march against LGBT ideology in schools. Muslims in Canada, under the leadership of activist and businessman Kamel El-Cheikh, are rallying together for a quote unquote million-person march in Ottawa on September 20th. The protest is against what they described as the LGBT ideology being forced upon children in Canadian schools. El Sheikh's passionate commitment to this cause shines through in his optimistic outlook as he aims to unite Canadians of all religious backgrounds in defense of so-called family values. He remarked, quote, "I am optimistic, absolutely. You know, if there is one thing that's going to inspire Canadians from coast to coast to go down and protest, it's the kids and their innocence and its families." He also criticized Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, accusing him of pressuring Muslim communities to accept what he deems as sinful behavior. El Sheikh emphasizes the common ground between different faith communities in Canada, saying we can coexist. And I think that's what's absolutely what these protests are illustrating is that Christians and Muslims and most Jews, and of course a lot of common sense Canadians, have a lot in common. That it's not just what Justin Trudeau is preaching. Amidst growing tensions, the protest represents a significant movement in the ongoing debate about LGBT education in Canada. So I thought that this would be very interesting to cover because I don't even know what to call it anymore. I guess, loosely LGBT culture war is going pretty strong in Canada right now.
What the hell are they talking about? What is LGBT ideology? Are they talking about tolerance and accepting other people? Is that LGBT ideology? What is LGBT ideology? Can somebody explain that to me?
So, I know what it means in the American context, and let's be honest, like that just bleeds over the border and then it becomes your guys' culture war.
we don't have Canadian culture, okay? Canadian culture is just American culture and anti-American culture. Actually, that's a bigger part of it. Okay, we don't have our own unique culture. If anybody tells you that we do, they're lying. Okay, so yeah.
So anything that becomes a culture war in the States is like, just give it about 3 to 4 months and it'll probably start messing up y'all's political discourse too.
Yes.
So I know in the American context, what they mean by LGBT ideology is a very loosely defined thing. And if you ask any given conservative, they're probably going to give you a slightly different answer. But I think what they're mostly referring to is education in schools regarding LGBT issues. So that could mean but there's a whole spectrum about it, right? And especially with all the book bans that are happening in the US, sometimes it's like, oh, this is a book that has sexually explicit, kind of gay material in it. This is totally inappropriate for children to be exposed to, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, how many children are actually picking up that book in the library? Honestly. But then there's the full gambit where it's like, oh, this is a children's book that shows two gay men just living together. Not even two gay men, just two men living together. Now that needs to be banned. And then there's okay, we want to have education in schools that shows that gay people exist. And then there are people that are like, hey, you are having LGBT education, or really the biggest moral panic is about transgender education, way too early. That's always the thing, is you're going to confuse the kids. And then there's a few other things as well, but mostly kind of in that vein.
Okay, I got it. I think I got it. Okay, are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
I think I figured out what LGBT ideology. The summary of it is the acknowledgement that LGBT people exist. That is LGBT ideology,
and it's okay.
That it's okay to be LGBT,
and we should accept them.
Okay, and that's what they're afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. By the way, that's not LGBT ideology. That's just like not being an a-hole, I think.
It's
That's
still,
what
yeah, I mean, there's a difference between tolerance and acceptance. And I mean, as a member of the LGBT community, like personally,
yeah.
I think we should be promoting tolerance. We don't have to enforce acceptance. Um, and
Yeah.
that's my personal opinion, is that in America, some of the ways in which I think we've gone astray is pushing for acceptance. Well, I do think acceptance is more desirable. We can't enforce it, but we can more thoroughly promote tolerance. But that's a sidetrack.
Yeah, but that's not LGBT. I mean, that's not. First of all, I don't like the term LGBT ideology. Okay.
Oh no, it's nonsense.
Because
It's meaningless.
yeah, yeah. So it's promotion of tolerance. That's what we're doing here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Promotion of tolerance. These people are delusional. Okay, they think what they actually mean when they say LGBT ideology is the idea that people are trying to make their kids gay and trans. They like what's actually happening is that we're trying to create a world where if your kid happens to be LGBT, that they don't feel like crap because of it. Okay, and you think that if your kid ends up being gay or trans or anything else, that it's these liberals who did it to your kids. You don't understand that they were LGBT, and the liberals are trying to make it so that they don't feel like crap. And you are making a world that they do. You prefer a world where they do actually feel like crap. That's what's happening. I know there are exceptions, by the way. Don't come. Yeah, I understand that some people take it too far. Okay, that naturally happens. Whenever there's a movement, we are going to have some crazies. It's impossible to have any move. The best movement in the world is going to have some crazies in it. I know that. But what these homophobic and transphobic people do is that they jump on those cases of insanity and they try to make it so like as if that this is the entirety of this movement,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't.
Mm-hmm.
It obviously isn't. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think peaceful Muslims should recognize that more than anyone else. When Muslims all of a sudden go get the content from these conservative Christians on highlighting some crazy trans people or some crazy gay people, and we're like, oh my God, look how insane this is. Like, do you realize what game that is? You people who know, by you people I mean peaceful Muslims, who know what it's like to go and find certain radicals like ISIS or Al Qaeda or anything else or Taliban, and people are like trying to paint the entire Muslim community as if they be like that. You should recognize what you're doing yourself now when you go and find a few videos of some crazy trans people or gay people and trying to paint an entire picture for that entire community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
For the
this
past 20
LGBT,
years, Muslims in North
yeah,
America have been like, hey, don't prescribe the behavior of the dangerous extremists loosely associated to our group identity to all of us as a means to
right,
justify violence and bigotry towards us. And left-leaning
exactly,
people were like, got it.
yes,
You know what? You're right.
you're right. And now you're doing this. The left-leaning people that recognize that for you and were pushing for you not being treated like that, now you're betraying them by not returning the favor. Basically, you're not returning the favor. That's what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. And that is what you call LGBT ideology. The same, I mean, that's a ridiculous label, but what is being done here is the same tolerance and accepted that was given to you in North America and Western Europe by many people from the left. They're doing that to LGBT people, and that's what you're fighting against. You're hypocrites. You are hypocrites. Yeah.
I think, well, so it's really difficult because Islam is a religion that uniquely resists Reformation above other religions. It has very specific prescription against that beyond what other religions have explicitly written down. I mean, of course, there have been like Reformation movements, but that's different than actually trying to reform the text itself, right? And so part of the problem is when what this guy was talking about, this guy who's going to be leading this movement, Kamel El-Cheikh, one of the things that really made him angry, let me pull up the quote, let me find it, is basically this instance in which children were being taught in school. Okay, here's the El-Sheikh argued that schools target Muslim students with this ideology, mentioning a pamphlet that asked the question, "Can I still be a Muslim if I am queer?" and claims that Islam and homosexuality are not in conflict, something that he considers blasphemous. So he's alleging, or apparently, I don't know, I couldn't find a copy of this, that there are pamphlets that are being distributed in schools that are telling Muslim students that Islam and homosexuality are not in conflict.
Wait,
and he's like, no, this is completely intolerable.
Okay, wait a minute. Is he saying that you can't be queer and Muslim at the same time?
And so so this pamphlet is saying, can I be Muslim if I am queer? And then according to him, it goes on to claim that Islam and homosexuality are not in conflict. And he considers this blasphemous.
Okay, I need to see. I can't judge this. I need to see what's in the pamphlet, right? But what, like, okay, I've been doing this thing, Susie. I don't know if you know. Where's our names, by the way? Can we bring back our name? Bring back our names.
What were you saying? You were doing this thing?
Okay, and I don't know if you guys watched my stream with Secular Rarity, okay, but I am doing a Mufti Armin thing, which I tell you what.
Yes. Okay.
Mufti Armin. I am Mufti Armin. Do you want me to tell you what's Islamic here, right? Well, can you be queer and Muslim? Do you guys want to know that?
Yes.
Is anybody interested? Okay.
Mufti Armin, lend us your wisdom, your hikmah.
Yes. So the answer is that yes, you can. Okay, and being, if you're gay or trans or whatever, there's no contradiction between that and being a Muslim. You could be both at the same time. I mean, you shouldn't identify as one, because Islamically, it's not okay to make an identity out of your sins or out of your sinful desires, right? So you could have desires for the same sex, for example, and still be Muslim. And if you don't act upon it, not only is that not a bad thing, that actually makes you better than straight people, because you have extra temptations that you have to resist. So that proves that you're closer to God, right? So it's an opportunity. It's
extra not suffering only makes it a little more juicy.
Yes, extra suffering is good. So if you're tempted by the same sex and you can't, like a straight person, go and marry somebody and just give in to your desires, then extra suffering is good. Suffering brings you closer to God, apparently. So if you don't act upon it, not only that's not a bad thing, it's actually a good thing. If you act upon it, that's bad. If you have gay sex, that is bad. You be sinning right now. Okay, apparently, YouTube, I'm not saying these things. I'm telling you the views of other people. But you still be Muslim. So these are 3 levels, okay? I feel like I have urges to have sexual relationships with other people, with same-sex people, but I'm not going to act upon it. That's amazing. Islamically, you're like, good on you. Good job. Okay. No sins here at all. And even extra brownie points. Level 2, I have the desire and I'm acting upon it. Islamically, boo, That's a sin. You will burn for it unless you do toba, unless you ask for forgiveness and all. You're sinning, but you still be Muslim. You're still within the fold of Islam. Now, level 3, which is the worst level, which is when you sin, when you have sex with the same gender and you act upon your sinful desires, and you claim that this is not a sin. This is the worst thing you could do. You claim that, you know what, Islamically, this is cool. Islamic, God is okay with it. So you're denying the commandments of Allah. This makes you a non-Muslim now. This brings you out of the fold of Islam. This is the worst thing you could do. This is worse than the act itself. So if you go and have two Muslim men having sex, they be sinning, but everyone be sinning anyways, right? It's fine. This act itself, Islamically, is not as bad as you claiming that this act is okay. Even if I'm not participating. Imagine if two Muslim women are going at it with each other and I'm not even involved. I'm just outside. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. That's not a sin.
Oh, you're
I'm
watching?
doing the work. No, even the watching is not as bad. Okay. The watching is just a sin. Let's say I'm not even watching. Okay. I'm just like hearing about it. I'm like, yeah, God allows that. What I just did is worse than them going at each other. Did you know that? That homosexual act. Yes. If I'm a Muslim, okay, and two Muslim girls are going at it with each other, right? And I am just
do that.
And I just
you're doing what?
they're going at it with each other, and what I do? Okay. What I do? That's right.
Sorry, I'm feeling extra childish this morning.
Okay.
Go ahead, continue.
Right. And I'm a Muslim man, and I'm like, you go, girls. That's completely okay. That's not a sin. Okay. Technically, now I'm not a Muslim, and those girls who are going at each other, they're still Muslim. They're still Muslim, and I'm not a Muslim, even though they were doing the act, and I'm not doing anything. Just me announcing that that's okay takes me out of the fold of Islam. Yeah, that's Mufti.
I mean, it makes sense. Islam it's consistent. That's the thing.
Yeah,
it's consistent. And I'm going to be honest, like, and obviously I'm very biased, because who said this in the live chat? Hindu historian said, that's horrible. If you want to be yourself, you're going to hell. Like, yes, this is like literally what made me leave the Catholic Church when I was 14. This is literally what made me leave the Catholic Church when I was 14. When I realized I liked girls, I was like, well, I have two options in front of me. One is to hate myself eternally, or the other one is to leave that behind and cognitively thrive. Man, so Armin, one thing that I thought was really interesting was one aspect of this whole LGBT backlash in Canada was this leaked phone call that came out. And I sent you a video that contained this phone call. And no, it's not a phone call, it's a recording. So it's a recording of a teacher in a classroom. And I do not know the age of the students in this classroom, but based on the way that she's talking to them, I would assume like probably at least high school. Should we play it?
You want me to play it? I could play it.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, hold on. Let me get it.
Oh, but what was I saying? Oh, yeah, what I was saying was that if you are part of an Abrahamic religion and you're an active believer and you're LGBT, it just fundamentally makes no sense to me. I know people that are like LGBT Christians. I just cannot understand it. But I'm very biased.
You could say that about anything else. Being a woman and religious, being a human and religious.
I know. But specifically LGBT, it's just so much worse.
Yeah. Let's play this. Oh, this is double speed because I watch everything in double speed. Let's go back.
TQ events is
Wait, no,
not
you
okay.
need to go all the way back to the beginning.
You? All the
Yeah.
way? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all across Canada right now, we're seeing a bunch of LGBTQ protests in regards to Pride Month being involved in schools. The government has come down saying it may be illegal not to celebrate Pride Month. Basically, saying it goes against the Human Rights Charter of said province to not.
Let's actually read. All schools must comply. Schools get heavy-handed against Pride backlash. That is not what. Okay, what is this? Who's this guy's name? Is this what is this guy
This
who's
is Abba
talking?
and
What's his
Preach.
name?
The guy who's the Ethiopian guy, his name is Abba.
Abba. Okay, Abba is not being honest here. Let's be fair. Okay, he's saying Canada is making it illegal to not celebrate Pride Month. What we're actually seeing on the screen is it's the schools. Like, if I didn't see this title, I would think like they're sending the police to people's homes and like, are you celebrating Pride Month? If not, you're
Salute
gonna
the
go
flag!
to jail.
Salute the flag!
Doesn't that seem dishonest of
Yeah,
phrasing
yeah.
of what's happening here?
Yeah.
Schools are publicly funded. It's reasonable for the government to ask the schools to take part in certain activities.
And
Okay?
what happened is that there was a giant walkout across Canada when there was Pride stuff happening in schools. So people would refuse to send their children to schools when there was any form of event happening.
You know, for example, the government in every country almost requires schools to teach math, right? Me, like, imagine if I took that, I'm like, oh, it's illegal. Like, it's illegal not to learn math in Canada. Like, what are you, like, as if like they're sending the police and making sure people are learning math. You know, it's part of school activities. The government phrasing it as it's illegal not to do something is making something so normal and usual, which is government requires schools to have certain curriculum and certain activities, turning that into something that seems a lot more hostile, making it illegal not to celebrate Pride Month is a very dishonest way of phrasing this, to be honest. Okay, so
Basically, saying it goes against the Human Rights Charter of said province to not celebrate Pride Month at school. So parents don't want their kids to be indoctrinated. LGBTQ folks for, hey, we're not doing that. It helps with awareness and acceptance. Here's a teacher telling Muslims.
Yeah, I want schools, to teach. I want schools to tell kids that, you know what, gay people are a thing, trans people are a thing, and that's okay. I mean, the same parents, if they were like, yeah, I didn't want you to tell my kids that, I don't know, there was discrimination against black people or that slavery was a thing. If the same parents came out like, yeah, I don't want you to brainwash my children with that information, people were like, what the hell are you talking about? This is reality. These kids need to know that. Imagine, for example, in Canada, they're teaching kids about, the natives in Canada or in the US about slavery in the United States. And you're like, yeah, stop brainwashing my children about, discrimination against black people. That's part of reality. Your kids need to know that. You don't get to choose that your kids don't learn that. You don't get to, that you're the ones who are brainwashing the kids, and the school needs to fight back against that.
Muslim students that skipping LGBT
Muslim.
It helps with awareness and acceptance. Here's a teacher telling Muslim students that skipping LGBTQ events is not okay.
Well, I'll tell you, you are out to lunch. If you think it's acceptable to not show up because you think if there's some pride activities going on at school, right? Oh, that's fine. Because I'm going to show my opinion by hanging out at the mall. But meanwhile, all those kids who are, involved in, say, the Gay Street Alliance or whatever, I don't even know if we have that anymore in our school. They're here when we did Ramadan for Lion Time, and they're showing respect in the class for your religion, right? For your beliefs. It goes two ways. If you want to be respected for who you are, if you don't want to suffer prejudice for your religion, your color of skin, your whatever, then you got to give it back to people who are different from you. That's how it works. It's an exchange. And it isn't like that in all countries. As I told you, in Uganda, literally, if they think you're gay, they will execute you. If you believe that kind of thing, then you don't belong here. Because that is not what Canada believes. We believe in freedom.
So if you don't participate in pride events, you do not belong in Canada.
Okay, here's what I don't like.
That
It's
was
so-
dishonest.
It's so dishonest. It's so dishonest because she's literally saying that's not what she's saying. That's not what she's saying.
That's not what she's saying.
She's
We
saying
just heard.
if you believe in execution for homosexuality, you don't belong in Canada, which is
And
true.
he said,
Because
Yes.
it's a statement. She's talking about pluralism within the fabric of society. She's not talking about literally the pride event. She started out talking about the pride event, but she was ending talking about the values of being a Canadian. And the values of being a Canadian national involve pluralism.
yeah, this isn't the citizenship test and all. You know, this is not, you don't belong in Canada. Yes, if you think gay people need to be executed for being gay, you don't belong in Canada. Says so in the booklet that they give you to become a citizen. So that is literally the case. It says also, like, in, child mutilation, child genital mutilation, and a whole bunch of other things. Yeah, it says that. You literally have to accept that this is the laws of the country, and you don't get your citizenship if you don't swear that you accept that. So what are you talking about? The teacher did not say. How did he misrepresent such a short audio file in such a dishonest way after playing it to us? And the teacher didn't even made an example of an Islamic country. The teacher made an example of Uganda.
Yeah, a Christian country.
Literally, like, one of the only Christian countries that has is getting close to executions for being gays. Like, she went out from all the countries that you could make of an example out of. You come up with the only Christian. Like, we have plenty of Islamic countries to give this as an example for executing gay people. And literally only one Christian country, which is Uganda. And she, from all the examples that she could have chosen from, she picked the Christian one. And you still are acting as if she's like targeting. Oh my God. And also, her point is completely valid. She's talking about the hypocrisy. When the not belonging part was about execution, the beginning part is like pointing to the hypocrisy. Like, you are dismissing. You could like not participate in these activities, but look at what you're doing. These are the same people who came out in support of you, and you're not returning the favor. That's a completely valid point. And she's saying, if you want to be accepted, it goes both ways. You can't just be demanding acceptance. You are making it hard. Like, if you are a person, what isolates you from the community? Your lack of tolerance. So we are trying to say, like, okay, someone's color of skin, don't use that as an excuse to discriminate against people. Someone's belonging to a community, like the Muslim community, don't use that as an excuse to discriminate against people. Okay, but what about someone's lack of tolerance? Right? If somebody is like pushing you aside because you're brown or black, that's horrible. If somebody is pushing you aside because you belong to the Muslim community, that's horrible. But what if somebody's pushing you aside because they're seeing your lack of tolerance? I can't complain about that anymore. That's not bigotry anymore. So what the teacher is pointing out is that if you are showing yourself, if you're demonstrating to others in the society that I am less tolerant, then if the community is not being accepting of you, then that's your fault now. That is not their bigotry anymore. You are saying, I am less tolerant. I can't accept gay people in society. Now, our dismissal of you and not accepting of you, that is not bigotry. We are justifiably judging you based on your actions and lack of tolerance. You don't get to attribute that now anymore to our bigotry. You're being the bigot here. We're just calling you out. And now your acceptance is your lack of acceptance in society is your fault now. And that's exactly what the teacher is saying, and it's completely correct.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about this because this leaked phone call that came out has become, in Canada specifically, like a huge part of the call for an action like this million Muslim march, whatever, or million person march, excuse me, on against the LGBT ideology. And this, like, Abba and Preach are honestly some of my favorite YouTubers. Like, I love them so much. They're so funny and I love their content. But I was really disappointed when I saw this video because I do think they have a lot of more valid criticism of some of the stuff going on in LGBT culture. But this I thought was really dishonest framing because she's talking about the values of being a Canadian. She's not saying, oh, if you don't go to a pride march, you don't belong in Canada. She was making a broader statement about the values. So I thought that this framing was dishonest. And I thought it was particularly interesting because Abba himself he's an ex-Muslim. Abba is one of the largest ex-Muslim atheists on this platform. But that's just not like his identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But let's listen to the rest of it because I want to see how he frames this.
We can't listen to this whole video.
I know, just like the next few seconds.
Okay.
Listen, I don't know what Ramadan is like today, but when I was growing up, you did it. If you wanted to, you did it. And nobody cared. And honestly, I didn't care if the school got involved. Why would I give a fuck?
So again, misrepresentation. Yes, no, you don't have to participate in Ramadan. Okay, you don't have to go out and be like, "Oh, I celebrate Ramadan and stuff." But if you notice that people in the society are like, "Yeah, you go be you, happy Ramadan," right? If you go tell people like "Happy Ramadan," and you notice that the same people who you're trying to make feel more welcome in society, they are now going around and not doing the same thing to you, and you highlight that, that is hypocrisy. You could highlight that. You could be like, you guys are not being as tolerant as other people are trying to be to you. But now Abba is trying to point out like, well, you don't have to participate in Ramadan. That's not the point. Like, you know what is happening? What's happening here?
Can I give a quick comparison? The better comparison would be if there were calls and a movement across Canada to remove children from schools when they were doing Ramadan celebrations because they're going to indoctrinate the children with Sharia law.
Right.
That's the comparison.
Right. Yeah. Let's listen to hear what you're saying.
I don't need you guys to eat samosas with me. We're not going to be there when I break my fast. All right. You guys call it samosas, whatever the fuck you call it.
Yo, samosas is fire.
In Ethiopia, that's what we call it.
I want to be there when y'all motherfuckers eat it.
That shit is delicious. But my whole point is like Muslims have never been clamoring for other people to observe their religious experiences. They don't care.
They care about being. Actually, they care about being accepted and tolerated.
Globally? Yeah. I think they do care. What?
That is nonsense. That is nonsense. In Canada, they have been doing so many things in trying to for people to recognize and accept them in schools. Like we have to also teach children in schools that people are Muslim and that's okay. Some people are Muslim and just accept that in society. That is nonsense. No, they're not pushing people to participate in Ramadan, but they're doing many activities to show kids that to be tolerant of Muslims in Canada. And also, just because you didn't have to do that, that doesn't mean that we can't point to the hypocrisy. Here's an example. It's as if, right, you come in, you are moving, okay? And I come, Susanna is moving, and I come and help her out. Go and help her out with moving, okay? And now I'm moving, and Susanna is not coming to help me out with my moving. I'm like, wait a second, I was there for you when you needed to move. How come you're not helping me? And Susanna comes like, well, you didn't have to help me. Okay, yes, I didn't have to help you. But I'm just going to point out that you are an a-hole if you respond to me like that. And now if I come out and recognize that you're an a-hole, then you can be like, oh my God, How come you why do you require me to help you move? No, that's that I don't require. So he is the dishonesty is here. The requirement is for the school to have certain activities. The requirement is not for the children or the school or the parents to participate in gay pride activities, right? I almost said gay activities. To LGBT pride activities. Yeah, that is definitely not required, right? If you do not participate, that is not this, that you're not going to be forced. The Muslim community is not going to be forced to take part. But the teacher has the right to come out and say, you guys, to shame them. Shame in the same way if a student
I don't think that's
doesn't. I think so.
a good tactic in the classroom.
Not individually shame them. I don't agree with that. But if you come out and say as a teacher, I think this is not okay. I think this is not a good way to not a good way to show tolerance and acceptance in society. Like if you promote that, I think that's fine. Why not? If for example, let's say for example, you have an activity in school to learn about slavery. You have a play that is about slavery. Okay, let's say there's some kids are going to have an act and other kids are going to watch, and it's about something about the history of slavery, right? And your parents are racists, and your parents like, you know what, I don't want my kids to learn that. And your kids are like, yeah, I don't want to take part in that. You guys are pushing some material on me, and I'm not going to take part in that. I'm going to stay home. When you guys have that play in school, I'm going to stay home. And the teacher next day comes and gives a speech to the entire class about why that is wrong. You're not forcing the kids to stay and watch it, but you come out and give a speech about why that is wrong. I don't think anybody would complain about that speech. I think everybody would understand that that teacher has a point. And you could tell your kid that you could address the kids in the classroom about how disgusting that is. I think that's fine. That's completely fine. But when it comes to LGBT, all of a sudden it's different. Yeah. Anyways, do you get my point? I think.
Yeah, I don't like how you framed it as shaming, because psychologically that's not a productive tactic. And I think that's inappropriate especially in a public school setting. But I understand your broader point. Okay, well, the good thing is that I am not the one in front of the kids. Okay, I understand the wording of things. I understand that the way you frame things, the way you word things, especially when you're talking to kids, there's a whole process. There's a science to this. Okay. So if I use the word shame and that's not the right proper way of framing these things, well, I don't have the expertise. I have no idea. I have studied child psychology and all of that. That's up for them to decide. But that point needs to be made in whatever way it's appropriate to those children. Yeah. By the way, guys, if you're having fun with us today, like this stream, okay? We have a bunch of people watching. Make sure you like the stream. It takes half a second, supports our channel. And if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, because we're on the road to 40K. We're going to get there as a community, okay? We're building the Atheist Republic Army, okay? We need to be 40,000 strong. So hit the subscribe button too while you're here. Also, let me just tell something else. You need to like the stream, because what you just heard, that was the best commentary on this topic anywhere. Okay, this Abba and Preach. Like, if you go to Islamic channels, that's nonsensical. If you go to a lot of progressive channels, you can see that they're taking it to sometimes an extreme level that doesn't make any sense. Even Abba and Preach, who usually make a lot of sense sometimes, you saw their take was not good. Our take is the correct take. You need to come to this channel to learn what the correct take is. So make sure you like the video so other people learn that too. Yes, and before we move on to the next news, we've got a super chat. Well, first of all, Darko is celebrating that he's been a member for 16 months. Thank you for supporting the channel, Darko. Guys, if you want to support the Atheist Republic community, our work, what we do, because we can't do it without your support, make sure to hit the join button, which is like down below, and you get access to all of our special Atheist Republic emojis, which are adorable and includes me licking the Quran. If you're a member, like drop some of the emojis in the chat so people can see. And also, Mustafa gave a super chat saying, living in a Muslim community in the United States, I feel the Muslims often overlook how the values that call for respect for LGBT folks is the same for them. It also makes it more complicated because your group literally, and I mean literally, calls for discrimination of others in that case. Very good point, Mustafa, and I really appreciate your insight. And SFL just gave us a $7 Canadian super chat with no comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. And also, I just want to say, Adam Rickster is saying, I triple heart our mods. Yes, thank you to everyone that helps moderate this channel. In particular, thank you to Dee Boudreau, our lovely volunteer editor and our best moderator.
Right.
I'm a little bit biased though.
Wait, is Newman our moderator too? Okay.
I don't think so.
Our moderator. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure he doesn't feel left out. Yeah, by the way, guys, I was joking about saying everything we say is correct. Okay, so don't think like I actually say that, believe that. Okay, I just wanted to make sure some of you guys can't tell when I'm joking, so I need to clarify. Okay, I just want to make sure that people don't think we're making a cult here or something like that.